Hello and welcome to Marketing Corner episode 86.
Whoop whoop, yay.
Yay, thank you. Thank you, Casper, for the soundboard.
Yeah.
And tonight we are, I'm going to be really cheesy here. We are marketers, hear us, RAR.
Oh, that was great. You worked on that for about 5 minutes or something. So that's
I wrote that last night. No. So today we're going to talk about RAR, which is Revenue Attribution Reporting, one of the features available on LinkedIn within the last sort of 4 months or so.
It's very new. Yeah, I think 4 months is probably pretty accurate. It's this year. Yeah.
Yep. So, Casper, why don't you talk us through a little bit about what that is, and we'll take it from there. Over to you.
Yeah. Thanks. So I think we have it for a bunch of our clients, and essentially it's just a report you get access to through your business manager, and essentially it connects to your CRM data, and then it connects to the ad activities you have on LinkedIn, and it tries to kind of prove what you're doing. So if there's any like revenue to be attributed to your ads on LinkedIn, then it's trying to kind of prove that point. So yeah, I call it like a light version of Dream Data, like or Hockey Stack or something similar. Because essentially, it's doing what they're trying to do. They just do it on multiple different platforms, have a lot of other cool functionalities. But of course, this part is free, right? Like the revenue attribution report from LinkedIn is free. It's a free tool. And having talked to a few people from LinkedIn, I don't think they're seeing it as a competitor to those. So you shouldn't exclude the other tools per se. But it's just a nice addition. And it's LinkedIn trying to help marketeers prove the value of what they do on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. So that's fundamentally what it is and why it exists.
And I think what's kind of interesting about that is, we've always been able to kind of measure, at least from a digital perspective, sponsored content, anything paid, right? But this also includes organic posts now, and it can see whether organic posts are also part of the engagement and part of the conversion, from what I understand.
Yeah, I think so, but it's not super good at mapping out the organic side of things. I think it's mainly focused, unfortunately. Yeah, I think it's mainly focused on the paid side. And it is something you only get access to, unfortunately, if you have like I don't know the actual limit, to be completely honest, but you have to have a certain spend. It's not for everyone. Okay. So you have to have a LinkedIn rep. So. And then through that LinkedIn rep, they can activate it for you. So, but the way I think it's kind of interesting because like it looks at a few different metrics here. So I pulled up I can't say the company name, but I pulled up a version here. Like we have a client where it's active. We have multiple, but we have a client here where it's active. And I think the interesting part is so it only looks back 180 days, which is also limiting in itself because like having talked to LinkedIn, they know B2B journeys definitely can be longer than 180 days. I think looking at our Dream Data, we have clients we signed on here throughout summer that started seeing our ads last year around summer. Like, right. So long like literally cycle. A year before they inbounded. Like they inbounded, then they closed one within a month, and they're like, "Yay, super fast." Wonder what happened, but that's just because we showed the marketing for a year. Anyways, So that already is a limitation in how it's used and how it works. But it is what it is. So 180 days. You connect it to your CRM. Right now, you can only connect it to Salesforce, Dynamics 365, who some people still use, and then HubSpot CRM.
Who are you? Who are you?
We actually have a few, so I shouldn't talk about that.
All right, sorry, let's not talk shit.
It's not made for marketing. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but neither is Salesforce.
Oh God, Salesforce is I can live with, but HubSpot is definitely my favorite. Anyways, so it's only those 3 CRM systems right now, so it's not Pipedrive.
Does it integrate with HubSpot?
Yes. So you hook it up with HubSpot, Salesforce, or Dynamics 365.
Got it.
And then once it's hooked up, then you like get access to your metrics. And essentially the main things you can see is like how much revenue have you won, what's your return on ad spend, what's your LinkedIn ad spend, what's your pipeline amount. Then you can look at it from an individual campaign level. So how has that, like how much revenue won, what's the ROAS, like return on ad spend, or what's the spend and pipeline amount from that specific campaign. Then you can look at funnel metrics, like how many things have you put into different stages, leads, or opportunities, close ones, and also look at stuff like conversions. What's your opportunity win rate? What's your average deal size? Average days to close? So that's pretty powerful, and I think the interesting part here is also there's four different attribution models. And I'm just gonna go through all four because there's some of them which definitely shouldn't be trusted, but they know that themselves. LinkedIn, it's just it is there, and there's some of them I feel like you can trust a little bit more. So the first one is so there's two levels. There's impression level and engagement level. So on impression level, there's three versions. So there's the first one, which is called any impression essentially counts as a touch. So if the ad has been viewed at least once, that's a touch.
And I would take issue with that. That's a vanity right there, right?
That's the classic vanity. Like if I turn that on for this specific client, marketing's through the roof.
Look how many people
marketing's great. Like marketing's freaking amazing. So, and don't get me wrong, marketing for this specific company is great. We're doing it's really good, and it would be great to say the name. I'm not going to, but
don't do it.
So no, I'm not going to do it. But my point is, this is very misleading because especially because there's formats such as text stats, and text stats technically also counts as impressions. I'm not 100% sure how they count in text stats in all of this, but they haven't mentioned. I've tried to talk to them. I can't remember what exactly they said, but I think text stats right now is just counted as an impression. So it's extremely misleading, this part. So I would not use that. Then there's what they call several impressions count as a touch. The ad has to be viewed at least 4 times. Okay. We are getting there. I still think it's vanity, because again, we're including text stats, and on average, what I see is that you look at 7 to 10, 11 times is how many impressions you need before you have a quality interaction. Let's call it that.
That's actually what LinkedIn account managers also say. They say that you need to actually have the ad. Between 8 to 11, I think is what my account manager would say of have them see the ad. So it's interesting that they only count it for 4. That's kind of doubling what the impression, what the touch count could be, right? Based on their own analysis that it takes 8. Now they're giving you credit for 4. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but I still think don't get me wrong, it's still valuable to some extent to look at, but I wouldn't trust that either. I don't trust that either. For impressions, again, with text stats in the mix, even without text stats in the mix, it's not a lot. Yeah. Now, the last one from an impression side is the one I use. And here we say many impressions count as a touch. And here your ad has to be viewed at least 8 times for it to be. And in this case of the company I'm looking at, of course, the return on ad spend goes down for each level, because you have to spend more. But according to LinkedIn, then their case here is very they have a return on ad spend of almost 9. So every $1 we put in, we technically almost 9 back. And that's accounted to the pipeline. Of course, you have to remember that it has a lot to do with how much is your contract value. If you're you need to close a lot of deals but here in this case, a few deals, all good. It counts for the whole budget, right? So if they close a few whales, boom, then the ROI goes crazy. So there's a few there's a lot of underlying things you need to be aware of when you look at this stuff. Then there's the engagement side. So here it just says any engagement counts as a touch. So essentially, if the ad must be engaged at least once. So if anyone has engaged with your ad in any sort of way, then that works as a measurement. And I think the other one, the one I used, impression, with that case, we had a 9 almost return on ad spend for this client in particular. With this one, when we go to the one engagement, which I think is, I don't think it's wrong to say that it's the most precise, but probably is. But here we're looking at almost 5.7, almost 6 in return on ad spend. Now, I don't fully agree that an engagement, one engagement, I think the question is one engagement worth more than 8 impressions? And I'm not sure what the right answer to that is. I think it's a good. So if you've seen an ad but haven't clicked on it, because I see a lot of ads that I don't click on. Of course, is that one click very valuable? Yes, absolutely. But maybe you clicked in very fast. So I think an engagement is worth more. That's also what the data is alluding to. But personally, I'm not 100% sure it's worth that much more. Anyways.
And how do they, I guess the question I also have, and this is something, when we had Dream Data, it would look at the money that was actually coming through. But with LinkedIn, if it only has a 180-day window, and it takes you, like you said, a year to close, how does it know to attribute revenue to that action? How does it reverse engineer?
So I think since it has access to the CRM, it goes in and pulls all the contacts and companies. And I'm not sure it looks too, like, I'm not sure how it connects with contacts. I'm actually not 100% sure on that. Yeah. But at least connects to the companies. So you can see the companies and see if they are interacting with the ads, and then if they're in pipeline, and then it creates the correlation between those. So that's also why I'm like trying to say, like, I don't trust this 100%. And I don't think LinkedIn does that so either. It's a work in progress. But I want to point this out. This is way better than we've ever had. I think that's pretty. It's a good start. It is a good start.
And that's, I think, you know, and the thing with all of these platforms, right? All the native platforms, they want to make themselves look good. So they're always going to maybe round up or overinflate the impact that they've had because they want to make themselves look good. But I think it's a really good start to getting, I think for me also, like, the mindset of it's more than the first touch. It's more than the first click. You know, to start showing people that we want to measure more than that is a really good, you know, step in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I was actually just looking now and some data here. Let's have a fun statistic here. So here's one of the difference between two campaigns, because like you can also do it on a campaign level, which I think is very, very useful. Is you can look at, so here we have two campaigns. They're both single image ads. They're both in what I call the top level, top layer. So their goal is to generate awareness and get on the people's radar and then pull them down the funnel. And one of them has almost $700,000 in revenue one, and the other one has $150K revenue one attributed to it. Now I don't know the time frames for these. I can't see it here. I could do some more digging, probably figure out. I can't see it right here, but the smaller one has spent about $10,000 to get to that amount, and the bigger one has spent approximately $30,000, so 3 times as much. But here comes the kicker, because like the one had $700K, the smaller one has actually generated almost $1.1 million in pipeline, where the other one has generated $700,000 in pipeline. So, of course, some of it is revenue one, which would be sourced back to pipeline. So it's a bit misleading per se in that sense. But if you look at pipeline and revenue one and essentially put them together, it's actually almost the same amount for the same amount of money. So it starts like these, at least what I'm trying to allude to is that we're starting to get to the conversations we want to have. The conversation about like what is the pipeline being generated? What's the revenue one from these activities? And now you can actually talk about it. Like, honestly, like, I'm going to be a little bit pedantic, but when you share this with your top dogs, like when you're with your C-levels, then if you can say like, hey guys, we actually generated all this revenue from our LinkedIn ads. We can see all these accounts have been influenced. I think they're working on some specific where you can actually see the accounts. You can't right now, at least as far as I understand. So, but I think they're working on that, because then you can actually use it in your boardroom. You don't have to explain that you don't trust this 100%, right? Like,
never say that. Never say you don't trust your data in front of the board.
No, exactly. You can be like, hey, this is our marketing contribution from our LinkedIn activities. I think that's powerful. Like, I think that's pretty good.
I think, you know, I have not used this function. I've been on maternity for the last 3 out of the 4 months it's been in existence. So I haven't actually used this myself, but I have used multi-touch attribution tools in the past. And what we found when you talk about bringing it to the board was there were 2 different sets of data, right? One team was looking solely at Salesforce, solely at first touch. That's the only thing they cared about. And we in marketing were like, look at all these touch points. Look at all these touch points. Look, you know, the influence. Yeah. And I think that, you know, we have to get to a place where you can start understanding influence, and you can start understanding that there's more than one touch point. I think this is, as I said, this is a really good step in that direction. And I would feel more comfortable with a third-party tool that had everything, and it would be a little bit more unbiased, but those also cost money. And
I think
take a lot of time to set up.
Yeah, and I think before we went on this episode here, I also said, like, the way I see it, so we have clients... we don't have that many, to be honest, that do this, but we have clients where they have all 4, I call them the 4 pillars of attribution. Okay. I just made that up, but I call it
I love it. I'm here for it.
That's cool. That's very cool.
I love a pillar.
4 pillars of attribution. So the first one is your CRM. like your CRM system, all things considered, tells you quite a lot of truth, right? Like, even though it might be first touch, it might be whatever attribution form you have in your CRM system, it tells you quite a lot. So that's the first one. The second one is what I call like the dream data and hockey stacks of the world. So like attribution systems, like and these are pretty good. Like these can give you a very holistic view on your attribution. They're not perfect, but they are giving you some pretty good idea of how things are moving. And then the third one is your self-reported attribution. And if people don't know what that means when you put on in your forms, when people put in like, hey, how did you hear about us? They say like, hey, I heard about you on Marketing Corner, the podcast, right? Those used to be the 3 pillars. And now I'm just saying we have a client. We only have this one actually that has all the 4. So we're working on it. But they also have revenue attribution. So they actually have all 4. And with all 4, man, we're getting there. Like I'm not saying it's perfect. It never will be, but we have a pretty good idea of what brings in revenue and what doesn't.
Yeah.
This is like, and I think good.
There's 2 ways to look at it, right? And there's the marketer going, what's working so I can do more of it, which is great. But then I guess it gets a bit hairy when it comes to the revenue and the CFO and the CRO looking at like, what is marketing bringing to the table? Who gets the headcount? Who gets the commission? That's when I think it gets a little bit hairy because there's skin in the game that can impact people's livelihoods. And for that, I just want one pillar, man. I just want one central source of data that everyone trusts, that everyone can look at and go, okay, this is what's working.
No, but
and then like, something more granular.
Let's be real. Like there, at some point, here's a tip for the Dream Data or Hockey Stack or whatever developers out there who are listening. Here's the holy grail: create the tool that combines the 4.
Yeah, exactly. I want one tool to rule them all.
Create a tool that analyzes this with an algorithm that says, based on the data we have in Dream Data, based on the Dream Data we're getting from LinkedIn or whatever platform, doesn't really matter, platform we're getting, based on the data we have in our CRM, and based on what we're seeing from our, and when the CRM data needs to look at sales conversations, so like analyze what are they saying, maybe they're saying something, hey, I saw you on LinkedIn a million times or whatever. Analyze that, and then also analyze what they put in the forms, if there's any self-reported attribution, or maybe you ask, how did you hear about the one on the first call or whatever. Analyze those points and then make an algorithmic response based on that. That's the gold. There you go. That's the $1 billion SaaS idea. Yeah, right?
I would buy. You know what, Casper? If this Marketing Corner podcast doesn't work out, we should build that. We should build that.
Stefan from Dream Ray is going to thank me for this one later. Yeah.
Stefan, if you make it, I want the beta. I want to beta test it because I mean what we're seeing now, and I've had this in plenty of roles. Sales use Salesforce, marketing use HubSpot. We are using HubSpot now, but the board looks at Tableau. Like there's just so many different tools, and they're not saying the same thing. And who do you trust? How do you know what to do? And the worst feeling in the world is to go in there and go, here's my numbers, and then sales or RevOps or marketing ops or whoever comes in and go, no, that's not accurate. This is accurate. And then you've got 2 sets of data that say totally different things. And then everyone thinks you're full of shit. That's the problem. So I think a tool like this, if you use it as a marketer to give you insight, to help you double down on what's working, to help you optimize your campaigns, that's really great. But I would be reluctant to put this in front of a board meeting and say, look, LinkedIn is killing it for us.
Oh, God, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, LinkedIn would love us to say that.
No, but you can't do that. And you can't do that with Dream Data either. Like, it's so funny. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you can't put that. Like, you can't, and I think Dream Data knows this themselves. It's not a secret. Hockey Stack the same. Like, people don't get it. Like, the board doesn't get it. Like, and it's no... And we're a long way from them getting it. Maybe in 20 years, 10 years, whatever. So you can't do that. But at least like you need to get it from an optimization perspective, so you can make better decisions. And then you need to figure out a way to translate it into something you can communicate. You essentially need to just boil this down to one slide and can say, here's how much approximate impact we had. This is hard to measure, but based on what we're seeing, then all these accounts were influenced by marketing, all this stuff. This resulted in this much revenue from marketing this year. That's the new connection you need to make.
And I think that would open the door a lot more to branding, to see the power of branding. If we can improve upon the organic posts being part of this tool and making sure that those are showing up. If there's a way to get the non-paid side up and running, because I think as performance marketers, we've always operated in a world where you could measure what we do. We could measure the Google ads, we could measure the paid ads, the paid SoMe. But if we can get to a point with this attribution reports where we're saying, and also look at the organic stuff we've done and look at these other touch points. Fuck it. Look at the podcast they listen to. Everyone listens to a podcast on a platform. They should be able to find that out somehow. You know, if there's a way we can start really mapping how people buy stuff, because I guarantee you, I will bet my house that people don't get a phone call from a company they've never heard of, from a 22-year-old kid straight out of uni trying to sell them something, and they go, yes, here's my credit card, take the $20,000 a month out of it. Like, that never happens. They're going to do their research, they're going to do their due diligence. And if we could just find a way to show that and map that and know what the most common path is to a high value deal closing as quickly as possible, we're done. Like, job done, we're golden.
Exactly. I love it, but I think it's kind of like it's kind of like interesting because like a lot of people always ask me like, hey Casper, what's the right play here, and all this kind of stuff. Does marketing really work? And like, how can, if I can't prove it, does it really work? I'm like, I've seen a lot of cases in SparkForce, but I've seen a lot. I am yet to find a case where marketing does not work. Marketing fundamentally, theoretically, and fundamentally and practically works. Mm-hmm. The problem is just you can't prove it. Sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't. That's exactly. So I'm like, sometimes I'm just like, dude, you just need to believe. Like if you don't fundamentally, if you don't trust in marketing, then it doesn't matter what I show you. Like it doesn't matter what I show you. Like it doesn't, and your patience might run dry and stuff like that. If you fundamentally don't believe in marketing, then it doesn't matter what I show you. Like, and the same for SparkForce. I always make fun because like we are actually like internally we're the hardest case to do attribution for. Like we have Dream Data because we're partners and stuff like that. But so we have access to tools so we can prove it. But we're really hard because like when people buy an agency, they don't buy the tool. They buy the people. So when we have inbounds, we do have inbounds on our website, but most of it is through me, like, or Frederick or some the growth leads or some people. It's for our people. So most of the people, like the inbounds we get are people who are like, hey Casper, I've been following you for a while. Let's talk. Right. That's the inbound I get. How the fuck this doesn't show up in a HubSpot form?
No, exactly. And that's where the self-reported attribution comes in. And just a fun fact about that, we debated about adding that on our form fields because, you know, that old adage, the more fields people have to fill out, the more they're going to drop off. You know, you lose 30% of your conversions for every field you add. But we added it as an experiment and we saw no impact on our conversion rate. Our conversion rate remained pretty much the same. And what we actually saw was that I believe it was about 24 to 25% discrepancy between what our tool told us versus what people told us. And so we kind of bring those two together and we try to come up with what makes sense. But I think, you know, for all the marketers out there, I think try it. I'm a big advocate for self-reported attribution because that, you know, when you rely on Google telling you where it came from, or LinkedIn, they're going to say Google helped. They're going to say LinkedIn helped. But if this person says, this is what I Googled, or this is where I heard about you from Casper, or from, I had one guy come in because his neighbor used us. And he said, I heard from you from my neighbor. That's a referral, you know.
How are you supposed to track that? Like, where do you track that?
Exactly. Yeah. And who do I give credit to? The neighbor?
Yeah.
But yeah, so
that's why it's such a beautiful combination. I've had people inbound because of the podcast. They've heard the pod. Fuck
When do I get my commission? No. Where do I get my commission, Casper?
Oh, you get all the merch in the world.
I do want merch. It's on the list. Anything with your face on it, buddy.
Oh, we can make that work. But I'm serious. Like, it's just like, I think it's just, also I get the question like, hi Casper, SparkForce growing really fast. Like, what's the secret? What are you doing? Like, yeah, we do marketing. Sometimes I'm just like, it's that simple. Like we preach marketing and we actually go do it and it works. Surprise.
Yeah. Don't tell Elon.
I don't know. Like, yeah, exactly. I'm just like, I don't know. Like, so back to this whole RAR. I just want to end this on RAR. That's what they call it themselves. But I think this is a really cool addition by LinkedIn. I think it's a really cool move. And I think this is utilizing the power of LinkedIn compared to something like Meta, Facebook. This is where you really start to know that they actually do listen, and I think that's cool because like Meta is more of like conversion API, like they also have that now, LinkedIn, but like they're more focused on e-commerces, and here LinkedIn knows we're all about the B2B segment. So what do they care about? They have their CRM system. We got to integrate and prove our value there, and they've listened, and this is a really, really good first step.
That's great. And I love like you said, I just like the transition we're making to show there's a lot more to the buyer journey than the first click. So well done, LinkedIn, for doing that.
And just to summarize a bit, just here at the final notes here, if you don't have it right now, it's in your business manager. You need to have a business manager. Go talk to you. If you have a LinkedIn rep, talk to them. If you don't have one, reach out to me. I can put you in touch with a LinkedIn rep. But talk to your LinkedIn rep and say, hey, can I get access to revenue attribution report? And then they'll give you access. You need to hook it up your CRM system, only work with Salesforce, Dynamics, or HubSpot as of right now. And then you're off to the races. And then make sure you look at the right attribution model. Be careful. Don't take any impression counts. Then like that's very
that's
misleading.
a bit very misleading, but baby steps.
Quite misleading. But use it and then combine it with some of the other stuff we talked about. Self-reported attribution, another attribution tool, DreamStack, HockeyStack, Dream Data, HockeyStack, and then whatever you see in your own CRM, and then you're pretty well set. That's a good attribution stack in my opinion.
And then explain to your C-level what that means and why they should listen to that.
I think that's a whole nother episode about storytelling.
That's a whole nother episode. We don't have time for that for tonight. But if it helps make you do your job better, that's a really great first step. So awesome.
And
thank
on that
you.
note, yes. You're welcome.
Good night.
This was thank you for listening, guys. Take care.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you. See you. Bye.